We're here with another episode of Before You Buy, that show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions on the latest games releasing. Well, today's a little different. We're giving you a quick one real quick today. We're talking about Conan Exiles. Now, I figured it was a time to revisit this one. It's finally out of early access and is seeing a full console release, so I'm jumping in roughly a year later after doing a Before You Buy video on the early access PC version. And this time I figured I'd try it on PS4 for variety's sake. Now, I was pretty rough on the game last time, and I think some of my criticisms remain the same here, but this game has improved and might offer some things for some folks looking for their own special survival game to call home. I'm gonna talk about this mostly from a newcomer perspective, because chances are if you have been playing since early access, you know what's going on and you know what you're getting. My footage will mostly reflect the onboard experience for new players too. Now, this is a Funcom game, and with it comes a bit more production value than you'd expect. Menus and cutscenes and general presentation looks really nice. Character creation is surprisingly slick and easy, and you can make whatever you want within some boundaries. Not only that, there are lots of boobs and dicks in this game, and it's funny. And with it comes really high quality and well-produced music too. Like I say, production values here are pretty good, especially for a survival game. Now, the game itself gives you the basic story setup and presentation and all that in a cutscene, and then it sets you on your way. For the most part, at the start, you get your basic crafting and survival stuff. This is where the game kind of feels like a Me Too survival experience. You know, you whack trees, you whack rocks, you take all your stuff and eventually build a bed and a workbench and a crappy hut, and then slowly work your way up from there. Now, my criticisms previously of it feeling like you hit a wall in early access are gone here. Progression is pretty steady and mostly satisfying, and of course, since it is a survival game, it's really challenging. The environment just punishes you, and frankly, just existing in the game punishes you. But once you get past the initial small hut and rags for clothes stage, there's even more to work towards, and it's good. I have noticed things are a bit more accessible this time around too, just small bits of item availability and material availability and quality of life improvements and crafting and organization. Now, I know that's not saying much. It didn't make the game suddenly easy by any means, but it's tweaked now to feel much less incomplete than it did in the past. Generally, I just think if you're a survival game player and you're jumping into this, you'll be fine. And if you haven't played a survival game in a while or ever, you're gonna have a rougher time, but it's not impossible. I think that's the most important thing. Now, you have PvE and PvP servers to choose from, as well as the option to just play completely in co-op or single player. Those are probably the lamest ways to experience the game, if I'm honest, but it is still playable, and it gives you difficulty options for the uninitiated, so single player can be done. It's just not perfect, but I'm glad they included it. Thankfully, on the server side, there are tons to choose from, like I said, from PvE and PvP, and there are tons of options within those, as well as clan support. The game gives you plenty to work with, and I really appreciate that. But really, what makes this different from other survival games? You know, what makes it more than just being like that other big survival game, but without the cool dinosaurs? Well, I think it's a couple of things. I don't know if it's enough, but there are a couple things. First, there are religious undertones here, which you can pick your religion, but more importantly, you can build up temples and do sacrifices and stuff. Secondly, combat feels somewhat better, especially in third person. It's all about blocking and dodging and striking and heavy and light attacks. It's far from perfect and almost feels a little craptastic sometimes, honestly most of the time, but I still find it feeling a bit more unique compared to other survival games. Here, there's a bit more of a tangible feel, at least, to it. There's a bit more feedback behind your hits. Also, the map is really good. There are some pretty excellent landmarks, and the game's map is just straight up pretty damn big, but thankfully, thoughtfully designed. There's plenty of biome variety and time of day, weather, and massive sandstorm effects to really shake things up a bit. Exploring this world is actually probably my favorite part of Conan Exiles. The survival stuff is whatever, it works. Building a castle is cool, but I like journeying and fighting and struggling my way across the landscape. Slowly setting up new camps and checking boxes off in my achievements and doing all that stuff along the way while getting better items is what I'm into. And since I'm on the topic of things that make this stand out from other survival games instead of just being generic, it's definitely awesome enemy and creature designs. I love discovering weird new things to fight because a lot of them are pretty creative oddities. There are also some that are absolutely ginormous and are worth discovering yourself for the first time just for that rush. I'm not gonna spoil them here. Now, all of this is especially fun with other players or even a friend or something, I will say that. Since I am playing on PS4, the servers here seem to work well enough so far. I only had some slight lag during one of my sessions. I will say though, performance-wise, the game is really messy. Even though there is production value, the graphics mostly look not very good at all, with massive frame drops happening to me all the time on PS4 Pro. The PC version is finally better optimized, better than my complaints previously, but it just overall doesn't look much better. There are glitches and bugs abound here in this game. I fell through the environment, I got stuck in objects, and also there are tons of enemies that get stuck in rocks or buildings and stuff as I fought them. I had to completely reset a few times, and you know, in a survival game, doing that totally sucks. Now, this is the bottom line. In this regard, it still feels like an early access game a bit. I hate to say that. It has better servers, single player features, quality of life improvement, but it's still a janky game through and through. But that comes with the territory, I guess. It's a survival game. This is kind of like what they are like. Does Conan do enough differently to stand out? I'm not so sure. Look, I like the few things it does, but some people might not even notice or care and maybe immediately write it off. And I get that. I'm honestly more with you on that side. But for fans of that stuff with this game, or just a survival game fan looking for something other than Ark, since Ark is a bit weird right now, I understand why you might like this. It's definitely not the worst survival game. If you played it and paid for early access a year ago, know that it's a better game, but not a drastically different one overall. That's all I'm saying. But of course, this is a before you buy. You know how it works. I gave you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion, and now I definitely want to hear yours down in the comments. And if you haven't already, consider popping into our Discord, discord.gg/gameranx, if you want to talk about it over there with some like-minded folks. That is definitely a thing, so come hang out. But I definitely want to hear what you guys think of Conan Exiles in general. If you have been playing it, do you like the improvements? Maybe you have just bought in, maybe you bought the game right off the shelf, not knowing what to expect. I want to hear your perspective on this. Maybe you think I was a little too hard on the game because you love it. Maybe you think I wasn't hard enough on the game because you hate it. Let's talk about any of this stuff. But if you did enjoy this video, clicking the like button does help us out a ton, and we really appreciate it. And if you're new, you should consider subscribing because we put out stuff like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.